Welcome back to MAURO'S Films. The LUMIX G9 was announced 2 days ago and I was really interested how the G9 compares to the G85 and the G7 that I am filming right now. I will try to make an overview as a video user about the G9 versus the G85 and G7 specs. And they have stated that this is not the replacement for the G85 and G7, but it's a new flagship still photography camera with great video features. So they will sell the G9 along with the G85 and G7. The G9 has a 20 megapixel sensor like the GH4 rather than the 60 megapixel sensor of the G85 and G7. They say that the LUMIX G9 has the fastest autofocus in the world, 0.04 seconds, and it has 225 AF points. In video mode nobody says nothing, but I think that it will be really similar on the G85 depth from the focus implementation. But let's be true, if you are going on a really great autofocus camera, you are going to Canon or Sony. The G9 has 6.5 stops of image stabilization versus the G85 5 stops of image stabilization. And I think that this is not a really great deal, because the G85 makes a really great job stabilizing with the dual IS system. The G9 is a little bit heavier than the LUMIX G85 and it packs the battery of the GH5, so you will not be able to swap the batteries from your G7 or G85. And that's a really great deal, because you will have to invest in more and expensive batteries. The G9 has 4K 60p recording at 150 megabits. 30p and 24p at 100 megabit. The Lumix G85 doesn't have 4K 60p, but it records 30p and 24p at the same bitrate as the G9. The 4K 60p on the G9 is only limited to 10 minutes. The Lumix G9 films in 180 frames per second Full HD. The Lumix G85 in only 60p. They have the same internal recording of 8-bit 4.2.0, and if you want to extend to 4.22 you will have to use an external recorder. So if you are not really in the hardcore slow motion that is mostly overused these days, you will be really fine on the 60p Lumix G85. They both have 30-minute limit recording. The G9 has dual card slots for backup, the G85 only one, but I never had failures, so I'm really confident with one slot. The Lumix G9 has an LCD screen on the top, showing you the shutter speed, the image count, the battery level and the aperture. The Lumix G85 doesn't. And let's say that this is not important for video having the LCD up right here, because when you are filming you are always watching the LCD screen and flipping on your liking. And the flippable screen of the G9 is the same 1,000,000.3 inch of the G85. The G9 has a massive 3680K live view 120 frames per second EVF with 0.83 magnifications. The Lumix G85 has a 2360K live view with 60p and 0.74 magnification. And the same here, you will always watch the flippable screen and you will not use so much the EVF, so it's kind of the same. The G9 has a red dial ring mode select, the G85 doesn't. It reminds me of the Golf GTI Rabbit version and the standard version. The G9 has also a joystick, but who needs a joystick when you have these dials here that acts like a joystick and also a touchscreen. The G9 is splash-proof and weather sealed, like the G85. The G9 has headphone out and the G85 doesn't, but this is not a really great problem if you are recording pro audio on an external recorder, so you will be using the G9 or the G7 only for scratch audio. The G9 has USB power supply compatibility, but this is not such a big problem for the G85, because you can get a cheap DC coupler and get the same thing. And finally the price. The Lumix G9 retails at $1,700. And that's a lot, because you can get the Lumix G85 with the kit lens and the G7 with, I don't know, with the 25mm 1.7 and get to the same price of only the body of the G9. So this is a really great difference, because you get two cams to film a B-roll and a main cam with two lenses for only a body of the G9. So will I get the G9 coming from the G7 and the G85? No, and I really might pass also the GH5 because I really don't need 10-bit recording and massive 400 megabits files that I really don't have even a place to store them. You have to remember that when you go to such an equipment, you will also have to change your editing machine to handle such big files. That was my thoughts of the G9 as a video users coming from the G7 and G85. Give me a like if you like this video, also subscribe for more. Have a nice weekend and see you soon.